have something to do with it? Did general driver aggression have something to do with it? My response to that is probably a combination of all of the above. Note, I'm not blaming Goodyear like Kevin Harvick did. I'm just saying there's a chance that perhaps the combination of conditions made it a little easier for there to be tire issues. Now, I'm also thinking there's a very good possibility of what Dave Moody was musing about on Twitter earlier today, and the fact that possibly, perhaps, teams might not have been following the specified pressures given out from Goodyear, and that could have led to it too. That wouldn't be the first time we've ever had that happen.
What? You mean teams not following tire manufacturer directions?
No.
Nah, that would never happen in Cup. Only every week. I don't know what the problem was. It was abnormally hot. I mean, and it was still a great race. Actually, I don't mean for this to come out in the literal sense, but
yeah,
because I'm not a proponent of I don't watch races for crashing or anything like that. But all of the problems that kept besetting all of the chase or the playoff drivers actually made the race way more interesting because
didn't it though?
You just really never never knew what was going to happen until the very end.
Correct.
Just when you thought, well, it couldn't happen to another one, it
did.
happened to two. You know?
Yeah. By the way, the biggest story I felt like out of all the crashes wasn't even the Eric Jones-Kevin Harvick crash, and that was a big crash. It was actually the Alex Bowman thinks we can go 4 wide off turn 2 and ends up destroying his teammate and a couple of other people in the process. Good job. Good job.
I can't totally blame Alex Bowman for that because if you really watch that replay, all of those guys were determined that they were not going to back out. It didn't matter who was where. That was a bunch of guys running like it was the last lap of the race for the win, and it just bit them. So it's really unfortunate, and I hated it for Alex because he was running a great race up until that point. One of his best races in the Cup car, if you ask me.
I agree. He was when he popped up in third at the end of stage 1, I was like,
yeah, it was surprising. He, even more surprising was for at least the first half of the race, all 3 of the other Hendrick Motorsports cars were inside the top 10, and Jimmy Johnson was back at about 20th, and then all of a sudden he made a charge. And, I think we all thought, well, here we go. Jimmy's finally going to have a top 5 or whatever, a good finish, and he got caught up in a wreck. So it's just been crazy. It was a crazy day in Vegas. Nobody really was a sure bet until the last lap. And Brad Keselowski, again, 3 in a row.
The
big 3 are now the Fab 4.
Let me remind you how.
Isn't that like a sewing thing?
No.
Ahem.
Anyway, let me remind you that last week somebody at this table, and it wasn't you, said that Brad Keselowski was going to win in Las Vegas, and guess what happened? Brad won in Vegas. Shocker.
Well, it wasn't me saying he wouldn't. I mean, I was the guy saying I believe what I see. But I picked Kyle Busch because you figure, you're going to go home and it's going to be a home game basically for Kyle and Kurt. Kurt ran pretty well until he got caught up in a wreck. Kyle didn't run well at all. I mean, Kyle had a very anti-Kyle kind of race. He was out of the top 10, I think, fairly early and never really did much of anything after that, and then ended up with some issues. So, just a bad day for the 18 team. And the fact that Kevin Harvick ended up with a tire issue and then complained about tires, what happens when Kevin Harvick falls out of a playoff race.
Yes. So he blames everything but Kevin Harvick.
Well, but what's going to happen in Richmond now? He's going to lap the field because that's what
I wouldn't bet on that.
That's what the 4-car team does. Kevin Harvick, if he loses a playoff race badly or crashes or breaks, the next race he comes back and wins. And so if you're asking me who am I picking for Richmond, the early line has got to be Kevin Harvick, because
you think?
That's just what goes on. But, again, just a crazy race, so many storylines, but big win for Keselowski, and I don't think there's any question now at this point that the 2-car is a serious contender for the championship. I think we saw that the 4-car certainly was until the tire went. The 78 car certainly ran well.
And he led the most laps and finished third.
Yep.
And as Martin Truex so eloquently pointed out, Brad Keselowski has won 3 races in a row, yes. But he's won 3 races in a row without being the dominant race car, without leading the most laps, without even leading close to the most laps. So there is a lot of luck and circumstance that have gone into the 2-car's recent run of success, and arguably who have been the 2 most dominant cars over that span? The 4 and the 78.
Well,
Just
yeah,
saying.
and so it'll be interesting to see what happens when we go to Richmond this weekend, because remember, the race after Richmond is the Roval, and that's the absolute wild card. That's the
Yes.
race where you can't predict anything other than mayhem, because
Correct.
that's basically what it's going to be. There are no past stats. Everybody's tested, but nobody's really run under racing conditions where you've had a bunch of cars like that on the track. So pretty much, I think this race at Richmond takes on double importance for some of the guys like Harvick, because you've got to perform well here. And I think the guys, the Johnsons, the Bowmans, those guys at the bottom of the playoff order, those guys have really got to step it up at Richmond, because, again, you can't bank on anything when we get to Charlotte in 2 weeks.
No, you can't. Not at all. It's worse than Talladega, or better than Talladega.
Well, I mean,
from a
because,
fan
again,
standpoint.
nobody's ever done it before.
No.
So we can't say we could assume perhaps that road course experience might help, but we have no idea what kind of a race we're expecting, other than we think there's going to be a lot of wrecks. So you can't bank on using Charlotte to advance. So
Correct.
Richmond, for some of these guys,
is the last shot.
And that's why I think Saturday night, the Elton John has a song, Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. We're going to see a lot of fights on the track, and we may see a fight or two off it, depending on what happens at Richmond this Saturday night, because these guys are going to be on kill, especially, like I said, the ones who think that they need to win to advance, the ones at the bottom of the playoff order here right now, the bottom 3 or 4, those guys are going to be driving their tails off on Saturday night, because nobody wants to come into Charlotte with a disadvantage. We're going to step aside. When we come back here on the Stock Car Show, more conversation. We've got the Xfinity race, the truck race, we've got the ARCA race, all kinds of good stuff still to come. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. The Stock Car Show presented by our friends at HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ball in street? Girl in street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, recording artists against drunk driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
Hi, I'm Tyler Reddick, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show here on Performance Motorsports Network. We are broadcasting live from the Race City USA Race Chaser Studios here in Mooresville, North Carolina, having some fun tonight.
We're definitely live, that's for sure.
We are live, yes. And we do want to take a moment here. We should have done this the first segment, but want to take a moment to express our sincere prayers and thoughts for all of our North and South Carolina brothers and sisters who were so horribly affected by the hurricane that went through our area over the past few days.
Yeah.
We were very lucky here in our area in Mooresville that really didn't get anything but a whole lot of soaking rain. But certainly many others not as blessed. So to all of you who have been affected, we certainly will keep you in our prayers, and we hope that everybody's able to get things back in order fairly soon.
Absolutely.
Here. Also want to express some prayers to our media colleague here on Performance Motorsports Network from Racetime Radio, Joe Chisholm. We won't get into detail, but just definitely a challenging time for Joe, and we think the world of Racetime Radio. So we wish Joe all the best in his situation. He will be back in studio live on Sunday for his next Racetime show. So that is some good news.
Indeed
and
it is.
we keep moving forward here. I really hate to leave Cup, but I feel like we need to because in the interest of time, there were two other races that happened at Vegas. We can come back to Cup later should we desire. We're going to go to the Truck Series first because, well, I can.
Yes.
And
you will.
And I will. And you know what? I really thought for the longest time that maybe, just maybe, on Friday night, Matt Crafton, just maybe, didn't happen. But
his teammate finally
it
got a
was
win,
one
though.
of his teammates that got the win.
How
Grant
about
M.
that?
Finger.
After a second place on the dirt earlier this season at Eldora Speedway, where he conveniently got beat out by a teammate for the day in Chase Briscoe, Grant Enfinger comes back and decides, hey, I'm just going to go to victory lane in this here race. And boy, if you thought the Cup race on Sunday was chaotic, the truck race on Friday night, maybe even with 200 less miles, was even more so. We had triple overtime. 3 overtimes in that race, each one more chaotic than the last. There was drafting to the point where I honestly thought that we had a Talladega on a mile and a half. That's what a lot of the drivers compared it to, at least from what I was able to see. So, gosh, what can you say, though? Grant Enfinger, Mr. Consistency of the Truck Series in 2018, is able to pull one off. He's able to get a victory, automatically advance to the next round. And how about this, y'all? 2 drivers are locked in without having to worry about Talladega. And I would say they're 2 drivers that I never expected to win in the first round, in Justin Haley and Grant Enfinger, which is going to make the battle for those 4 points positions at Talladega very, very critical and very, very chaotic. And you know what? With only 10 points between Stuart Friesen and advancing, he's only 10 points below the cut line.
Well, I got to tell you.
All it takes is one driver or 2 drivers getting collected in the big one and having a bad day, and all of a sudden Stuart Friesen's back in, or, he could just manage to play the draft right and win. Not even Johnny Sauter is safe going to Talladega. And that, for me, is what's going to make that race next month tremendously exciting.
See, there were 3 overtimes. There were 3 Stuart Friesen caution flags in that truck race. Stuart had a disastrous race in Vegas.
He did.
Stuart needs to settle himself down. He needs to relax. He needs to take a deep breath. He needs to not push so hard. He just needs to focus on finishing races cleanly for a little bit. He's got to find a way at Talladega to put himself in position without taking himself or anyone else out of the race, and that's been a problem for Stuart the last month or so. I feel like he's been a little over the edge. He's been a little unsettled, and just really basically just not necessarily made the best decisions at this point because, he's been in a lot of fender benders. And this is not the time of the year when you need to do that. You need to have him he needs to settle down a little bit. But Stuart still certainly could make this thing happen. But I think Talladega is going to be a very, very critical race for him, I believe, because otherwise, I don't see him going any farther.
Again, I'll remind you, all it takes is Stuart Friesen surviving the big one and 2 guys that are above the cut line getting wrecked in it.
Well, surviving it and not causing it.
Yes, there's a fit. Well, keep in mind, there are some times at Talladega where somebody causes the big one and escapes it.
Well, that's also true. But, again, don't beat yourself. And I feel like Stewart has beaten himself more than he hasn't lately.
Oh, certainly.
And
I would agree.
And again, I hate that I'm even saying it. I'm a huge proponent of Stewart's, and I predicted for several weeks in a row, several races in a row, that he was going to win his first race. And I think he's just been pressing a little hard. So
yes, but you have to in the playoffs. I just think he's been over the line a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. You can't press. It does you no good if you're coming off on the tow truck, and that's that's been the problem here for the 52. But again, I'm not surprised at Justin Haley. I predicted that he was going to be one of the 2 favorites in Canada because of his road course experience. He won, and here he is. And I got to tell you, I like the position he sits in. He's won at Talladega before, albeit in an ARCA car.
But still.
But he's won there.
Yes,
he goes in with confidence. He believes that he's a dark horse in this. or that's his perception, that everybody thinks of him as a dark horse. So he's got a little bit of a chip, but at the same time, he's not the kind of driver who takes unnecessary risks.
Correct.
He's around
hey,
at the end of races.
I'm going to remind you what Justin said on our show a couple weeks ago after he won in Canada. He said that he went to the GMS graphics department and got them to make dark horses stickers to go on the truck so that he can remind everybody, we are dark horses. We are not the favorite. We don't want to be the favorite.
Right. I mean, that's the whole thing is I think he's in a situation now where he feels like he can sort of just fly under the radar. And, he's not one of these drivers that's overly flashy. He's not somebody that's going to demand a bunch of the spotlight. He just goes out and does his job.
Yes.
So, I think Justin Haley is in it to win it, and I think he advances even beyond the next round. I think Justin's in a good position to do that. Now, Grant Emfinger's got the win, so obviously he goes to round 2.
And I'll tell you who really needs to be nervous about this, about Talladega. And actually, I would say he needs to be nervous because right now I've not heard a guarantee yet that he's even going to Talladega, and that's Brett Moffitt. Last I knew, they still had not had sponsorships sold for the Talladega race.
Yeah.
That may have changed, but last I knew, then they're still waiting on that, and that's going to be a big key.
Right. Yep. I sort of feel like, in a way, again, if Moffitt, I hope somebody can get him to the next round because, gosh, I mean, you hate to see this season end for them. I can't believe that somebody wouldn't jump on board for Talladega. So hopefully somebody gets him to the next race because I feel like, in a way, this is one of those times when you create the Hollywood ending. And I think, if Brett Moffitt can get to Talladega and just get through this first round, I think it starts to get dangerous for Brett Moffitt because these tracks coming up are Brett Moffitt kind of tracks.
And I want to remind everybody, by the way, when we talk about the volatility of Talladega and how it can affect the playoffs, let's remind everybody that on the last lap of last year's playoff race at Talladega, John Hunter Nemechek, when they took the white flag, was not in the playoffs. And then they had the big one in turn 1. And John Hunter, by some miracle, scooted through it. And by virtue of scooting through it, made up enough points to make the round of 6. It's not over at this place until it's all over.
That's for sure. Well, it's always good to be a scooter thrower, too.
Yes.
Yeah, if you can scooter through it, that's what you want to do.
Let's remind everybody that John Hunter still has something to race for at Talladega. They're trying to move that truck to the next round of the Owners' Playoffs, which, keep in mind, for Nemco Motorsports, that pays a similar amount of money to win the Owners' Championship as it does to win the Drivers' Championship. And that could be a big thing for them as far as their future's concerned.
John Hunter is not going to roll over and play dead
for
these other trucks.
Not at all.
If John Hunter's on the track, John Hunter's racing for keeps. And so certainly he's got a shot, and Talladega's a wild card anyway. We'll talk more about the trucks later on in the show. We step aside on the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. We will be right back right after this.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves the majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
What an awesome game. What's up with your car? I don't know. It won't start. How are we getting home? Chill. My parents signed me up for the roadside assistance from Lewis Meineke. It was free with my oil change. They'll come and get the car started or get us home and tow the car to the shop.
Good to know. With my driving, my parents never know what to expect.
When you join the Meineke Car Care Club with a $35 preferred service, you get 4 free months of roadside assistance, including tire change, battery jump, lockout service, towing, and more. Contact Lewis Meineke, located on Route 1, or call 827-2054.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a lung disease that robs people of their ability to breathe. As many as 24 million Americans suffer from COPD, also known as chronic bronchitis or emphysema, and half of them don't know they have the disease. If you or someone you love is over 35 and has smoked more than 100 cigarettes in their lifetime, visit driveforcopd.org and take the screener, then take that to your doctor. I'm Jeff Stoltz, and I drive for COPD.
Hi, this is Austin Terrio, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Howdy. Welcome back to the Stock Car Show.
We back
here on Performance Motorsports Network, and we're live on the Race Chaser Media Facebook page. Hello to Mitch and Brett and everybody listening and watching and chatting and whatever else here. We do appreciate our followers here and look forward to keeping you informed. We've got Chandler Smith, who won the ARCA Series race at Salem over the weekend, coming up here in just a little while. We talked trucks in the last segment. We talked Cup the segment before, so we'll go to the Xfinity Series, where it seemed like every day we had one driver who was sort of didn't have a good day and caused multiple cautions. Stuart Friesen was the unlucky one on Friday, and on Saturday it was Tyler Reddick. Good night.
Hang on a minute, though. Hang on a second.
Go ahead, Jake.
You're really going to start there instead of starting with the guy who, number one, was so humble at the start-finish line in his post-race interview that he was whispering just about. But I don't get it. Why do we start with Tyler Reddick when we can talk about Ross Chastain smashing a watermelon at the start-finish line?
My sentence. Let me start the sentence over. So on Friday night, we had multi-cautions with Stuart Friesen. On Saturday, it was Tyler Reddick that played the role of the bull in the china shop. And when it was all said and done, the only thing Tyler didn't hit was a watermelon. And that's because they were all sitting in the 42's pit waiting for the driver to win. Congratulations to, I can't even believe I'm finally saying this. Do you know how long
I can.
I
said after Darlington he was going to win.
Ross Chastain won the Xfinity race.
Please hold while I remind you that I said the minute Kevin Harvick ended Ross's shot at victory at Darlington. I said at that moment he's going to come back and wipe the floor with them at Vegas, and that's exactly what he did.
He did.
He led 180 at 200 laps.
Well, but it wasn't as though he didn't have any challengers. This wasn't Ryan Hunter-Ray at Sonoma. This was at least he had some challengers on and off, and especially toward I'll tell you what, Justin Allgaier has to be the scrappiest driver in that series. That number 7, when it gets toward the last third or so of a race, there is nobody that I would want to be racing with less than Justin Allgaier, because
he gets after it.
Oh boy. I mean, if he doesn't get somebody's top shelf cup ride for next year, something's wrong here. But boy, Ross Chastain just did an amazing job, and I don't care what anybody says. He deserved that opportunity. He earned that opportunity. And with the exception of Kevin Harvick making a very un-Harvick move in that the Xfinity race at Darlington, he is undefeated in stage competition in the Xfinity Series with that 42
he
car.
He won Stage 1. He won Stage 2 at Darlington. He should have won the race, and we all know what happened.
Or at least should have had a shot at it.
He won Stage 1 at Vegas. He won Stage 2 at Vegas. He won Vegas. Now, you want me to predict to you what's going to happen next in about 4 days' time at Richmond this weekend? My prediction right now, he's going to win Stage 1. He's going to win Stage 2. And I believe that Ross Chastain will win 2 races in a row.
Wow.
And listen, Chip Ganassi likes winners. Chip, I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you. Strike a deal. Do something. Get equipment from CGR to JD Motorsports like yesterday. Stat. Do it. Ross Chastain needs to be fighting for a championship. He deserves to fight for a championship. And I want to see a CGR Johnny Davis partnership for real, like a real partnership, not just giving him hand-me-downs. I want to see it in the worst possible way. That would be the ultimate Cinderella story if they could go and pull this off.
Yeah, it would. And but look, I mean, it's an interesting situation because, sure, you'd love to see Ross finish the playoffs in the car. But, I mean, unless John Hunter Nemechek is willing to give up his races in it, that's not going to happen. So the next best thing is to do all you can to provide equipment worthy of winning to JD Motorsports.
Or there is another option if Jeff Karpoff and Paulette Karpoff from DC Solar want to go this route. Ganassi still does have the operational rights to the 48.
Well,
you could make a second car happen, but I'll tell you what I don't like about that. What I don't like about that is that regardless of the win on Saturday at Vegas, Ross Chastain still makes the playoff by virtue of the points he's earned at JD Motorsports. And my response to that, and the reason why I want to see an equipment partnership between CGR and JD Motorsports, is because, in my opinion, Johnny Davis and the JDM4 crew have earned the right to be in these playoffs, and I just want to see them have a fair shake at it.
Well, and I think it obviously is a difference of resources.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And it's not, we're not knocking JD Motorsports. We've done a lot of work with JD Motorsports. I sat down at great length with Johnny Davis back in May. Johnny knows where he is, and nobody was happier than he and that team to see Ross get this opportunity in the 42. I'm sure that if Chip offered whatever it cars, whatever, I'm sure that JD and the group would be thankful. They would do the very best they could.
Yes.
And, this is a great story.
It is. It's a Hollywood-type script. We just need to make it happen. Like I said, Chip, you like winners. make it happen, man.
Okay, so let's bring Cisco Scaramuza in here for a moment. Hello, Cisco. He is alive.
I'm snapping my fingers. That
alive.
should make the video change. There we go.
Yes.
Hey, I'm magic.
There we go. Cisco is doing a great job behind the scenes, doing all the right button punching for the video piece of
bashing heads against a wall.
Yeah.
We got it to work now.
While Randy Miller's over in our tech shed here doing a great job punching the audio button. So, Cisco, back on the air with us now. And, Cisco, I want your take on this because you've watched this as closely as we have. And, we don't want to over-dramatize this, but nobody at the beginning of the year would have expected Ross Chastain to be in this position because, of course, none of us saw the opportunity coming in the 42. But I think, we can all agree that JD Motorsports deserves to be an integral part of this playoff run. But we love to see the kind of equipment underneath Ross that would allow him to run for the championship with JD in combination with Ganassi Racing.
Yeah, I think it comes down to if Ganassi wants to make that happen, and kind of at that point, do they want to enter into that agreement? Powers combined, Captain Planet it or not, or however they want to do it, because it would probably take some kind of effort like that. Whether it's guys coming from Ganassi over to JD or JD starting to use Ganassi or going to Ganassi or something like that, I'm not really sure. But either way, we know that in the past, JD have said that, this is, we're proud to have Ross going out and racing in Ganassi equipment. So they've said that publicly before. So, I think if all the cards came down to it and Ross is able to survive the rest of these races that he has in the CGR cars, it wouldn't surprise me to say, hey, break out the 48, put him in that or something. But
please,
we'll just have to see, Jacob.
I don't see the 48. I see the 4-car, if anything. But I could certainly see some sort of an alliance. There already is an existing kind of friendly arrangement between, Ganassi and JD anyway. Some of the newer cars that JD Motorsports has put together this year were of the Ganassi chassis variety.
Hey, as long as JD Motorsports gets another can of paint that's not red, I'm happy.
Well, that would be the other thing, is to see if we can keep DC Solar flying around on whatever car Ross is running for the rest of the year. And I will save something for the lightning round of this show about that partnership too, that I'm sure I'll get some blowback about, but that wouldn't be the first time that's happened on the show.
No, it wouldn't be.
We'll say that for later, but definitely great win for Ross. Again, I think the playoff contenders, the usual suspects. On the negative side, the curse of the 60 car continues. Felt so bad for Chase Briscoe. And, just to
okay, so let's all ask ourselves, who at Roush Fenway Racing this year pissed off a voodoo magician or something weird?
Indian burial ground sort of.
Yeah, because that car should not be having that kind of bad luck. And all I got to say is, thank God for the safer barrier inventors and the fact that Chase Briscoe was able to climb out of his race car and walk away, because that hit he took on Saturday was nasty.
Yeah, it really was. We're going to step aside. When we come back, Chandler Smith going to join us, so we'll sort of move from NASCAR to ARCA for a little bit just to talk about Salem. I love Salem.
Yes.
Talk about the high banks of Salem, where Chandler Smith was not in a sharing mood last weekend. He went all 200 laps. We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show here on Performance Motorsports Network. HMS Motorsport brings it to us. We're going to bring this to you.
Everywhere you go, you hear it, and you see it. It's coming at you through your phone, your tablet, and your computer. It's broadcast from your favorite radio station, TV networks, and cable companies. It's in the stadiums, the arenas, the ballparks. It screams for your attention at the mall. It's interactive on Main Street. It's even coming at you from the gas pump at the nearby convenience store. What is it? It's digital content. It's digital content. It's digital content. Somebody has to create it. Somebody has to manage it. So whether your dream is to write it, design it, create it, call it, produce it, voice it, host it, light it, shoot it, switch it, record it, color correct it, it, edit it, code it, repurpose it, tweet it, blog it, post it, compress it, upload it, replay it, or make sure it gets to where it's got to go when it's got to get there in the format it's got to be in, you need to attend
Carolina School of Broadcasting.
The skills you will learn, the experience you will get, and the connections you will make at Carolina School of Broadcasting will open the doors to the career you want in digital content creation and digital content management. Call or come by today. Click csbradiotv.edu.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ben Rhodes, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Ben Rhodes, of course, another good run for Ben the other night. But, man, I'll tell you what, it just was a Thor Sport kind of evening when it came right down to it. We'll get back to that a little bit later on. Right now we switch to talking about the ARCA Racing Series. That's it. Yeah, if you're in Boston, it's ACA, presented by Menards. And
thanks, Bentley.
And the winner of the ACA series was Chandler Smith. Welcome to the show, Chandler, and congratulations on a fantastic run, 200 laps.
Yep, thank you guys for inviting me to have me on the show tonight.
Well, we appreciate that. And give us I guess there isn't really much of a review here. You led every lap. What's with that? Sharing means caring. Didn't anyone teach you that?
I mean, it definitely helps having a good pit crew and, really good, hard-working guys back at the race shop. Them Venturini Motorsports guys really worked really hard on that car when we went back to Salem because we were all really determined after what happened in Berlin. And not only that, what happened to us at the Salem Spring Race, we kind of wanted a little redemption from that deal. So,
do you feel like you got that redemption, Chandler? I think the obvious answer is yes, but.
Well, I'd like to say so, but the season ain't quite over yet.
Well, I mean, but you did lead all 200 laps. That certainly should be some form of redemption. Can't do better than going and leading every lap and walking off into the sunset.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I've never actually done that in my 13 years of racing.
Well, I'll tell you, you certainly have been impressive in the series this year. I mean, you've led about half the laps. You've been on the track in an ARCA car. I mean, that's just amazing. How did you adjust so quickly to the ARCA style of car and racing?
To be honest with you, it's just all a feel thing. You got to get comfortable. You have to be really comfortable with what you're driving, have confidence in what you're driving, and just know that you have good people behind you working on your race car as well is a big thing. My opinion, I feel like if you have enough confidence in yourself, there's no such thing as the sky's the limit. So if you put your mind to it, I'm pretty sure you could go out, and if you're that determined to do it, you'll do it.
What's the biggest challenge been for you guys this year, Chandler, as a team as a whole?
Having luck.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the biggest challenge that you guys have been able to work on and fix as the year has gone on that you can actually fix?
I just thought of a funny answer to that one, but no, probably just adapting to each other, to be honest with you, and just getting used to each other. You know, Billy Venturini's an awesome crew chief, and I look up to him a lot. He's really close to me in my life now. He's meant a lot to me ever since we met. He's done a lot for me, and all my pit crew guys as well. They're awesome. They've been executing on pit road all season. It's just I could never wrap one up for them. You know, it's bad. But anyways, I feel like that was the biggest issue there. We just all had to get used to each other.
All right, so I have to ask now that you brought it up, what's that experience been like? Because I've known a lot of drivers that have worked with Billy, and I know most of them have said that's one heck of a ride.
I mean, I love Billy. He's awesome. I look up to him a lot, and he's like I said, he's really close to me in my life. So I see no problem with working with Billy. He's awesome to work with, and all of Venturini Motorsports is awesome to work with.
You've won half the poles that you've been in an ARCA, or half the poles of your 8 ARCA starts. 2 wins. You've never been out of the top 10. Did you ever anticipate this level of consistency and success this quickly in the ARCA car, honestly?
To be completely honest, I wasn't sure what was going to happen in the first place. After the test at Nashville, I kind of got a general idea of, maybe what would go down, but I definitely was not expecting to get 2 wins, end up setting history in the ARCA series, and, getting all this publicity and stuff of all that nature. I was not expecting that, no, sir.
Has this kind of success this quickly, did it instantly raise your guys' expectations for the rest of the year when you got off to such the start that you did?
For sure. I mean, we always go to the racetrack wanting to win races. There's nothing more or less than that right there. We go to the racetrack to win races. We don't pack up and work hard all the time in the shop week in and week out just to go finish second. We go to the racetrack to win races. So that was our expectation since day one, and I'm pretty sure we're staying with that same expectation right now.
I know the first win was special, but to go to a track as historic as Salem, to lead all 200 laps, for a kid who, you were a short track kid and you have been a short track kid, was this kind of a bucket list sort of a win for you to win at Salem with all the history that it's got in short track racing?
Oh, yeah, that's really cool. I thought it was pretty cool.
So where do you want to get the next one then, Chandler? What's the next track on the list you want to cross out?
It'd be nice to win the ARCA race up at Lucas Oil, but a really big one I'd like to win is the All-American Snowball Derby this year.
Oh, Snowball Derby.
Did you see?
Like it.
Did you hear what he just did? He just crossed the All-American 400 with the Snowball Derby. I think what he meant was, I just want to win them both.
So, all right.
Is that the case? Do you want to sweep them, man?
That'd be really nice.
Yeah, what's he going to say? No?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, Chandler. So here, I'll ask you this: what for you? Obviously, the super late model has been a big part of your career for a while now. Transition to the ARCA car. What's the biggest difference been for you between the super and the ARCA car, driving wise?
If you ask me, compared to other drivers, you'll get different answers. Me personally, I feel like an ARCA car drives similar to a super late model if you go to a short track. I drive any short track the same as I do in a super late model, and I believe that's the correct way that you need to get around a short track like that. And it's been working out pretty good for us this year, but me personally, I believe in the same line. It's just a little different setup-wise, what you need to do with the throttle, brake, stuff of that nature, but nothing too big in particular, but that's about all.
So just to clarify, you're running the ARCA race coming up at Lucas Oil, and that will be, I think, your last start of the year, right, as far as the ARCA series is concerned?
It'll be my last one, correct, yes.
Have you guys started work on anything for 19 yet?
That's all going to be released later on this year.
I had to ask. I had to try.
So the answer is yes, but I'm not going to tell you. That's
yeah,
basically
pretty
what
much.
Chandler just said. Yeah,
to be honest with you, yes, that's exactly what it is.
Chandler, even at his young age, is wise enough to understand that when
Yes.
there's a lot of people listening, it ain't a secret if he tells it. Well, here's what we hope you're going to tell us later, Chandler. We hope you're going to tell us that you're going to get a whole bunch of ARCA races next year, because I believe that if you could, I know you can't run the whole series yet, but if you could run, I believe if you could run more of the bigger tracks, and start running some more races, I think you would win even more. You really
he's 17 next year, so he'll be able to run Pocono and Kentucky. I know that.
Everything but Daytona, right?
No.
Oh.
You can't run all the 1.5 mile and up races. You can run Pocono and Kentucky at 17.
Well, we certainly hope you get the max. Hopefully the funding is there and the opportunity is there, Chandler, because we really we're big believers. You've really made believers out of us, and I know out of a lot of people in the way you've driven that car in the starts that you've had.
I appreciate you guys. That means a lot.
Well, I know you haven't been able to do this by yourself, so we're not quite running you off just yet. We just don't want to forget. Tell us who helps you make all this happen.
First of all, I'd just like to thank the good Lord for even letting me be alive, having a great opportunity growing up with a good group of parents that allowed me to, fulfill my dreams and help me just get started with my racing career and get me good connections and stuff. So not only that, I'd love to thank Toyota Racing Development, Craftsman Tools, Billy Venturini, all of Venturini Motorsport, and all of Toyota Racing, and the great workers that they have over at Venturini Motorsports. They're great. They work day in and day out on all those race cars over there, and it definitely reflects when we go to the racetrack.
Well, certainly not a nicer gentleman can be found than Billy, and same for Tom Venturini, just a phenomenal PR person, and I know a lot of Cup PR people that could take some lessons from him on how to do this all right. Jacob, I'll let you finish this off with him.
Yeah, I do want to ask really quickly, because obviously, Chandler, in your 8 starts that you've done so far, the only track you've been to twice is Salem, and obviously the second time around you won that. But I'm curious, of the 8 starts, is there a particular track that you enjoyed the most in the ARCA car this year that you've run?
That's kind of a hard question to answer, to be honest, because all the tracks I've been to but Nashville this year, I have not been to any single one of these tracks, and they've all been really nice tracks, really nice facilities. So that's kind of a hard question to answer there, to be honest with you.
All right, so I'll ask you about Nashville since you had been there before. Did it kind of behave like you expected when you came there in the ARCA car compared to when you were there before in the late model?
Not really, and I kind of expected that because, it was my first ever ARCA race, and, with that much horsepower and that much more weight, plus the whole different tires, the general tires, it's just all different than a super late model. Those tires right there usually grip up a lot quicker than a super late model, and not only that, the track rubbers up really quickly with those cars as well, so you don't really deal with that much with a super late model on that track. So I was expecting it to be quite a bit different.
I know you're hoping for one more win here to close out the season coming up at Lucas Oil Raceway, Chandler. We're looking forward to seeing it here in a couple of weeks. So I think I speak for all of us when we say we definitely appreciate you taking the time to talk with us tonight, and we're wishing you luck in the last one here coming up.
10-4, I appreciate you guys having me on the radio tonight.
Well, we appreciate you being on with us, and if you're ever up in the Mooresville area here, where our studio is right in downtown Mooresville, make sure you stop by, and we'll have a conversation with you in studio instead of via the Race Chaser hotline like we are now.
10-4, I appreciate you guys.
All right, that is Chandler Smith, the winner of this past weekend's ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Race event at Salem Speedway. And with that, we are going to step aside. When we come back, Steve Ovens will be joining us. We're going to get dirty here on the Stock Car Show because we can. Right after this, presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Every 30 minutes, another innocent person is killed due to a drunk driver.
My best friend. My brother. My poor grandchild.
My sister.
My father. My husband. My mom. My mommy.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
Stop these tragedies before they happen. Don't drink and drive.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication. But it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Hi, I'm Timmy Salamito, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network, and we're also live on our Race Chaser Media Facebook page if you'd like to go there and watch the show instead of listening to it live. Either way, whichever works for you. And, of course, if you want to either share the show or if you missed part of the show and you want to go back and listen to it later, you can do that on most of the top podcast platforms. Just search Race Chaser Radio, SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play. I think it's called Apple Podcasts now or whatever it used to be. iTunes, iHeartRadio. We're on most of them now. So go check us out. And we've got our dirt expert, dirt track expert, Stephen Ovens, with us here. Yeah, first time that we've been graced with Steve's presence in a little while here. So we're happy to have him back. And Steve, the World of Outlaws season continues to churn. We're starting to talk about Super Dirt Week. The dirt has gone down.
Yes, it
on
has.
The Big O, the Oswego Speedway.
Hey, can I make a tiny point?
Yes, you can make a large point if you wish.
Actually, it is kind of a large point.
I'll cede the floor to you.
We had 3 World of Outlaws sprint car races in the last week. And Steve, breaking news, Donnie Schatz didn't win any of them.
One of them.
No, how about this run Casey Kane Racing has been on lately,
Right?
guys? This has been incredible.
Isn't it, though? I mean, we've seen Brad Sweet win. Again, no shocker. We've seen Darren Pittman win in an unsponsored car. That might be a little bit more of a shocker. But, hey, that's good news because what better way to get sponsorship than to go park it in Victory Lane? That's important. And, Steve, we saw a California kid in Corey Eliason stand up to Donnie Schatz, not blink, lead all 25 laps at Calistoga, and win.
Yes, he did. And I'll tell you, Jacob, there was a lot of good stories that came out of Calistoga.
Yes, there were.
Obviously, top of the list being Corey Elias. And
yes.
That's huge for that team right now. At this point in the year, when championships and maybe top 5 in points is a bit out of sight for many different teams, it's still a good thing to win races for your race team.
Yes, it is.
And show the rest of the field that, this is not the Donnie Schatz game and we're all just playing along. I mean, there's still a lot of good teams out there. So, I mean, Corey Eliason, for me, Jacob, was a big story. And, it seems like I beat these guys' drum quite a bit, but I got to give a tip of the cap to the Shark Racing boys. I don't know what it is about Calistoga that just seems to fit Logan Schuchart, but I'll tell you what, man, what a couple of races for them too.
Absolutely. Logan was tremendous, and you haven't been on here in a little bit, Steve, so I feel like we can kind of dip back a couple weeks and keep saying this. Jacob Allen is knocking on the door.
He really is, and I got to say that this is Jacob Allen is the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series journeyman who's been on the same team for the last 5 years. I mean, he has come so far from when he first come out and was not making races and only making races when they were taking provisionals and things of that nature.
Right.
It has been such a journey for him, and I'll tell you, the better Logan has done, the better Jacob has done. So there's definitely something to the fact that as Logan has not only become a top 5 driver, but a race-winning driver, you knew that Jacob's progress was going to follow along with that, and it may have taken this long for him to become that top 5 / on the brink of winning a race type of driver, but he's here and he's not going away anytime soon.
No.
Well, I think there's a correlation in the sense that as one teammate's performance elevates naturally, it carries over into the other car. You not only learn more about the race car with 2 drivers, but each driver has the opportunity to share their secrets and successes with the other one. So obviously, as the team as a whole gets stronger, that works well for both drivers.
Right.
And, I don't think it's going to be too much longer before we start looking at these two as legitimate contenders, not necessarily for a championship just yet.
Logan, I think Logan's getting close.
Yes, but and I say that only in the sense that no matter how good somebody gets, they don't seem to be good enough to beat Schatz over a whole season for a points title. But just to say that as far as bona fide contenders to win at most tracks, this team is getting real close to that. And for a bunch of guys from Pennsylvania, that definitely, to me, Steve, is just an amazing accomplishment for where they are in so short of a span of time on the outlaw circuit.
Tom, let me put this into perspective for you. And I was pulling up the points because I know Donnie Schatz he's got a pretty substantial lead right now. But let's put this Shark Racing conversation into perspective. Right now, Logan Schuchart is 6th in points, Jacob.
Yes.
And guess who's 10th? Jacob Allen.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
Shark Racing cars are in the top 10 in points right now.
I love it.
If you had told me that was going to happen 3 or 4 years ago,
you'd have laughed.
Clint Miller, Brad Ovens, myself, we would have all told you were crazy.
Well,
and
he is crazy.
Yeah, with 2 of them in the top 10, Tom.
Yeah, that's that. And again, that's what I said. I mean, these guys are short track racers from Pennsylvania.
Amen.
Trying to grow into a big major outlaw team. Jacob, this really is, I don't want to say this too literally, but little guy makes good.
Yes.
This is, you don't generally see a team like this just cross over to the Outlaws and immediately start having this kind of success.
Hey, but let's keep in mind that this all goes all the way back to when they're, the patriarch of the racing lineage in that family, Bobby Allen, as they call him, Scruffy, was doing this 35 years ago on the Outlaws Tour. And, oh, by the way, he won some people will say he stole a Knoxville Nationals, but you don't just steal a Knoxville Nationals. You win one, and he earned one. Now, Let's also, Steve, put into perspective how good Logan Schuchart's season has been and prove Jacob right about something in the process, shall we?
Go ahead.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to take us all the way back to February for a minute and remind everybody that we sat here in this building and made predictions right before the start of Florida Speed Weeks. And I believe that I sat here and said that I did not believe in a certain team that is currently below Logan Schuchart in points to be bona fide championship contenders. And Tom sat here and laughed at me and said, no, they're going to fight for a championship. And now, here we are 7 months later, and not just is Stenhouse Junior Marshall Racing and Sheldon Haudenschild not in the championship conversation. They have fallen so far as to be being beaten quite handily in the standings, might I add, by Shark Racing and Logan Schuchart. Hello?
Well, here's what I look at, Jacob, and I know that you're a stats guy and I'm a stats guy. Well, here's a stat for you.
Yeah.
You know, when you compare your point leader, Donnie Schatz, and I know that, you know, Schatz is in a league of his own right now, and so I'll say that first. But if you read across the stat lines, this is how it looks for Schatz: 19 wins, 44 top fives, 56 top tens
in 59 races. Yes.
Yeah, in 59 races. That's correct. Now, if you look at Sheldon, there's a steep drop-off. 5 wins. But here's the kicker to me, Jacob, and this is what tells the story for me and anybody that may not have followed the entire season this year. 15 top fives.
In 59 races.
In 59 races.
And he missed a race, by the way.
That is why they're in 7th place to me right now.
Well, and let's be clear here. I'm just going to come out and say it. This is not, in my opinion, a Sheldon Haudenschild problem. This team right now has a lot of issues. This is not Sheldon not finishing races now. He's had his share of mistakes on the racetrack or whatever, as most of the other drivers have who aren't named Donnie Schatz. But this is a really disappointing effort from this team, which should have all the resources to contend for a championship. And if you watch Sheldon Haudenschild, Steve, and then I want Cisco to jump in here because he wants to make a point. If you watch Sheldon over the course of the entire season, yes, he's had his moments, but for the most part, he's been fast. This car is just not running well in the features. They did not look good at all, for example, at Charlotte, a place where I thought that they would have probably finished in the top 3 to 5.
I'm not convinced, though, Tom, that this is not all, that this is all equipment either, though, because you said it. This is a team that should have all the resources that they need to make things work and to make those race cars fast. Kyle Larson jumped into one of those cars, a backup car, mind you, and went out and won a race.
And that was a year ago. That was a year ago before Richard Marshall even got involved.
Exactly. So I'm not going to buy the crutch of the equipment's not there. Could there be some communication issues? Could there be some setup issues, Cisco? Certainly. But I'm not going to let the equipment is not up to par be an excuse for a team that with one car on that team shouldn't have every resource possible that they would need to compete and win races and certainly score more than 15 top 5 finishes.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, yes, Jacob, you're right. I'm sorry. And also, second point, I won. Yep, there it is.
That's all that matters
There's
to
the
Jacob.
thumbs up. But the second part is, Steve, are we going to have to start firing janitors again? Because that's what this sounds like. This really, I started hearing you guys talk about, and I'll be honest, dirt isn't my forte. But this sounds an awful like a certain cup team that you like to rag on every now and again, Steve.
Well, I'll take it easy because it's an Outlaws team and not a NASCAR Cup Series team. But if we don't pick it up, we might have to talk about who's selling the T-shirts out at the apparel show.
Yeah. Hey,
Well-
Steve. Right before we go to break, can I add that there's one team I'm even more disappointed in, honestly, than the 17 team that I really believed would do a whole lot better than they have this year, and that's I know they're rookies to the Outlaw Tour, but they know how to thrive in high-pressure situations. I'm really disappointed by the KCP team of Ian Madsen sitting back there with only 5 top 5s this year. I'm really genuinely surprised at that.
I am too, but I'll say this, Jacob. I think that this was a very eye-opening season for them.
Fair.
I think
Fair.
that this could be an opportunity for them to kind of, in the short off season that they're going to have, kind of regroup. But at the same time, this could also be wow, this is a bit more than what we thought it was going to be. And maybe that's a team that's borderline on the tour or not on the tour come February. We'll see. Of course, they didn't exactly make the announcement that they were going to be on the full tour, come the beginning of
Until
the season.
late.
It
Yeah,
just
it was
kind of
late.
worked that way. But I think that's definitely a team that will be definitely anticipating the off season.
Well, all I'm going to say about the Sheldon Haudenschild deal is that at the beginning of the year, they looked like, for all the world, a team that would run in the top 5 or 6 of the points all season long, and all of a sudden, they couldn't get out of their own way. Now, you can blame Sheldon if you want to, but I'm going to tell you, he performed and had better results and was up front more in his own stuff last year than he has been in the stuff that should be winning this year. That's one of two things. Either, as you said, Steve, lack of synchronicity with the team, in which case maybe you got to change your crew chief somewhere, or Sheldon Haudenschild just needs to go somewhere else and start over, because this is not what Sheldon needs as he tries to elevate his career. He's running like junk right now. You guys are absolutely right.
I have a rumor
Big
after
disappointment.
the break. After the break.
We'll come back with more of Steve Ovens. We've got more NASCAR conversation and a few other things left to get to before we're done. You're listening to the Stock Car Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network, and we're live on the Race Chaser Media Facebook page, presented by HMS Motorsport. We'll be right back.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Automotive technicians and auto service trainees, how would you like to work at the beach and perform for one of the best car care centers in the nation? Louis Meineke is now looking for skilled automotive technicians to join their award-winning team. If you're a gearhead that knows his or her stuff, or a young up-and-comer that has the motivation and drive to succeed, then you need to make this call today. 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center, located in beautiful Lewis, Delaware, offers a highly competitive compensation plan, great benefits, a flexible schedule, and did we mention that you're going to be working at the beach? Plus, there's a signing bonus for the right candidates. Technicians must be ASE certified and have a minimum of 6 years experience. Beginners advance at your own pace in one of several entry-level positions. But whatever you do, don't wait. These jobs will go fast. Call Tim at 302-827-2054. That's 302-827-2054. Louis Meineke Car Care Center. Rev up your career.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay. Totally.
Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now. Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say?
Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Hey, this is Garrett Smithley, driver of the number nothing Chevrolet for JD Motorsports, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Somehow this is perfect music for number nothing.
Right?
I don't really know how that worked out. Welcome back to the Stock Car Show presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. You can find them on the web, and you should all go to their website, hmsmotorsport.com. They have got everything you need to keep yourself safe as a racer. In the car, all the driver gear and all of that. So go check them out. We really appreciate their support. Looking forward to bigger and better things with HMS Motorsport in 2019. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman. We have in the tech shed, Randy Miller producing up a storm. And we have Cisco Scaramuza and Steve Ovens, both via the Race Chaser Skype line. And Steve-O.
Ermiger's
We've
the
been-
Randy Cam's
Ignore
alive.
that label doesn't say Cisco. Ignore that.
Dang it, Cisco.
We've been
I only
talking.
made one of them. I didn't make two. I'm sorry.
Aw,
It's all right.
okay.
We just wanted to acknowledge you. We've been talking talking dirt with Steve and talking about World of Outlaws. And Jacob, you did a little.
I did a little research
ciphering.
during the last break.
Yeah.
I did some deciphering, and Steve, I think, at least in my head,
Sleuthing.
anyways. Yeah, scary, right?
Sleuthing.
I might have figured out some of the problem here as far as Sheldon Haudenschild. And I think that between all of us, we've all kind of said the same thing. We weren't sure if it was an equipment problem or a chemistry problem. I'm going to very much lean towards the chemistry problem on this one because my sleuthing during the break reminded me that when Sheldon made the shift over to the 17 car before the start of this year, he was not able to bring with him his longtime crew chief from his family car, Bonsai Bruns. Bonsai stayed with the wild child, that would be Jack Haudenschild for those uninitiated, Sheldon's father, on the renumbered 3 car with the All-Stars for 2018. And anybody that watched what Sheldon did in the family car a year ago, Bonsai Bruns has a very, very long history with both Haudenschields, Jack and Sheldon, and knows what both of them want out of a race car. No disrespect to Tyler Swank, who is a great sprint car crew chief in his own right and has done a solid job at Stenhouse Junior Marshall Racing in that 17 car since he's been over there. But in Sheldon's case, I have to ask myself, is Tyler the right man for Sheldon in that situation? And I'm going to say that maybe, just maybe, this chaos and not being where they want to be might not be a lot to do with the fact that they're lacking some chemistry there that Sheldon and Bonsai had and now don't have since they've been split up.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I think that, I probably would have to say that I don't think we think about that all that often. I mean, You think that, well, anybody that knows anything about sprint cars can set one up, and certainly, to be able to get an opportunity to go out on the World of Outlaws tour, no problem, easy peasy. Well, not the case. I mean, and this is something that when I was, kind of getting more into the media side of things, Jacob, I didn't realize that, that relationship between crew chief and driver, a lot of these crew chiefs, they can just watch the car on the racetrack and they know what changes they're going to make, and they don't even talk to the driver about the changes they're making. That's the kind of chemistry that these guys are going up against, because let's face it, guys, and this is no disrespect to any of the 360 organizations up here in the Northeast, but we're not on the Empire Super Sprints Tour here, guys. We're on the World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series. We're talking major sponsorship. We're talking major commitment level. We're traveling to 90-plus races a year from February all the way to the first week of November. I mean, this is big time. So, but I'll tell you, and Tom, I will give you this. I'm not gonna pin it all on Sheldon, but I do think that there's a combination of issues here, and I think that it would be wrong of us to think that it's one thing over the other. I do believe it's a combination, but the thing that I have a hard time getting past is this is a team that has all those that should have all the research. Maybe there's things that we don't understand, Jacob.
Maybe
there's so much that can go into it.
Here's a small point here too, and again, I don't want to I'm not going to blame Ricky Stenhouse for any of this because Ricky, but if you think about Tony Stewart, for example, okay, how much has Tony Stewart being much closer, traveling much more, even racing some with
I think the racing
shots,
piece is the biggest
okay,
thing.
How much effect does that have on bettering the overall Tony Stewart racing team, including Donnie Schatz, whereas, Ricky doesn't do as much of that. I don't know if he's as hands-on, and I really don't know, honestly, if he has the knowledge that Tony Stewart has. But I just cannot see, Jacob, I don't think we know what Sheldon Haudenschild can do because, and again, Tyler Swank could be the greatest crew chief in the history of the Outlaws. But if what he's seeing and thinking doesn't mesh with what Sheldon needs to be fast or Sheldon's trying to say, if they can't get on the same page,
then
it doesn't matter.
Work. Exactly.
We're speculating
and
about that.
That's a large part of why the Donnie Schatz, Ricky Warner thing works so well. They're a combination that without hardly having to say any words, though each one knows what the other one needs. And I think a lot of that was there with Sheldon and Bonsai before they got split up. And I think Sheldon's working to find that again, or at least that's the feel that I've gotten from the times I've been able to talk to Sheldon this year. Steve, I actually have a checkered flag to give out, not to totally jump off the Sheldon train for a few minutes, but I actually have a checkered flag I want to give because it's been a while since we've had you on. Can we give a shout out to the fact that since the last time we've talked dirt regularly on this show with you, Rico Abreu has won the Ironman 55. Rico Abreu has won a second World of Outlaws Craftsman Sprint Car Series race, the Gold Cup Race of Champions at Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California, and he almost won the 49er Gold Rush Classic at Placerville Speedway last week, Wednesday. I mean, he's won 2 big paying World of Outlaws races, almost won a third. I've been waiting to say this from the time that Rico Abreu came back from his very harrowing crash and concussion a little over a year ago. Rico Abreu's back, finally.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that it's very interesting to see what the future lies for him, Jacob, because there's so many different avenues. If he's going to stick with dirt, which it seems that he's going to, what avenue he takes. Is he going to be a true outlaw in that he'll race anything, anywhere, anytime, or is he going to pick a particular avenue to go down, whether it be the All-Stars, whether it be the Outlaws, or just travel to big money shows? I think it's going to be really interesting to see what Rico's career has on tap for him in the next couple of years.
Okay, and Steve, we got just a few minutes left in our dirt portion here. Just want to hit a couple of other very important topics here. First of all, Dean Reynolds, who most of us know from inside the Beltway up in the Northeast with the Empire Super Sprint Tour, now a huge part of the dirt organization. Talk real quick about that.
I'm going to say it simply by saying this, guys. This move is huge for Super Dirt Car Series, and it is bigger for Dirt Car and the Super Dirt Car Series than it is for Dean Reynolds. I will say that. This is a huge move. This is the guy for the job.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think that it'll be interesting to see how much of a blow this is to the Empire Super Sprints. They've got a great crew that I know can fill in and kind of fill that void that Dean's going to leave, and I'm telling you that is a massive one.
Yeah.
But this is huge for the Super Dirt Car Series. I honestly expect massive changes next year. There's a lot of things I'm already hearing in the rumor mill, and we'll see what the offseason brings, but this is huge.
And let's be clear to clarify, Dean Reynolds is taking Mike Perotti's place as the managing director, for lack of a better term, of the Super Dirt Car Series for 2018.
Absolutely, and I agree with Steve. It's a home run move.
Yes.
For Super Dirt Car. Okay, Brett Hearn wins a $10,000 to win Great Sportsman Race in Vermont.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, if there isn't mixed reaction over this, a big block modified guy throwing a Crate Sportsman motor in the car and going and winning a big $10,000 to win race. Certainly the BH fans are happy. However, the BH haters are out in full force as well. And you guys might be used to this conversation when we talk about Cup Light with the Xfinity Series. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm a huge Brett Hearn fan. Not impressed. Not at all impressed with that move at all. Okay, Super Dirt Week coming up at Oswego Speedway as we get into the month of October. The clay is down on the fast 5/8 of a mile. Steve, just give us your thoughts on kind of an early, what should we be paying attention to here?
Well, we should be paying attention to the point race because I think that this is going to be a little bit more interesting than we may have thought going into the season. Eric Rudolph and Danny Johnson, Max McLaughlin, Jimmy Phelps really trying to make a race of this thing. They're all within 215 points right now. But I'm telling you, keep your eyes on Eric Rudolph. He was very strong at Oswego the last 2 seasons. He could really surprise a lot of people come the end of Super Dirt Week. But, Matt Shepard, he's just, there's been times where they've been a tick off this year, but boy, you can't count him out in these huge races here at the end of the year.
Yeah, I just, I'm really feeling like Max McLaughlin's going to be all up in the middle of this one for some reason.
I mean, he's having a career best season. I mean, he's only been out of the top 10 3 times in 19 Super Dirt Car Series races this year. To sit 4th in points after the first 2 years he had, love it.
Absolutely.
And here's something to follow too, guys. A guy sitting in 3rd in points right now, he's had 3 different rides this year, Danny Johnson. and this whole new format for the Super Dirt Car Series with no home track points, that's allowed a guy like Danny Johnson to have 3 different rides this year and still be sitting 3rd in the points.
As far as I'm concerned,
he's the doctor that just won't go away.
Way to go, Danny. Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to stay on the dirt topic. And we're going to tell you why we're also going to talk about the K&N Pro Series West and dirt. We'll be back right after this on the Stock Car Show. Stick with us.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right. It's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
HMS Motorsport is the leader in motorsport safety. HMS serves a majority of Monster Energy NASCAR Cup, Xfinity, Camping World Truck, IndyCar, and IMSA WeatherTech teams, as well as countless SCCA and club-level racers and driving enthusiasts throughout North America. Featuring world-renowned brands like Schuberth helmets, Schroep belts, Adidas suits and shoes, Lifeline fire systems, and even Racecom radio kits, HMS has the right product for your type of racing and your budget. Their representatives are experts on only one thing, making your track driving as safe as possible. With locations in Mooresville, North Carolina, and Danvers, Massachusetts, the HMS staff is always ready to take the time to help you find the right product for your safety needs. Don't settle for second when it comes to motorsport safety. Stop in to HMS Motorsport. Visit them on their website at hmsmotorsport.com or send them a message on Facebook and tell them the folks from PMN Radio sent you.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Cole Custer, and you're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Well, there's a driver who's been a bit of a topic of conversation.
Hang on. I'm too busy trying to read what Cisco's holding up to the camera.
Cisco has, I've only got two of my eyes working, so.
Yeah, Cisco, you're going to have to help us out here.
Yeah.
Wait, no, Randy has to push the button so Cisco can talk first.
Come on. Station without representation. He took my box. We've got it back. Revolution.
Oh, my, okay.
Oh,
okay,
boy, on that note.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show here, where we've been kind of all over the map tonight, but that's kind of normal. Presented by HMS Motorsport, the leaders in motorsport safety. They're not all over the map, but they are in both Danvers, Massachusetts, and here in Mooresville, North Carolina. If you want to go visit them at one of their two retail locations, and you can find them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com. And we stay on the topic of dirt, but we come back to the stock car motif that this show is famous for, because somebody thought it would be fun if we took the K&N Pro West Series and the opportunity to be part of the NASCAR National Vegas week and threw some dirt down and, well, threw the K&N cars on the dirt. Here's the problem, Jacob. I watched the start of that race the other day, courtesy of somebody who probably wasn't supposed to be, but they did anyway. I saw a random cam and caught the start of the race. It was a dust bowl. Did the track prep crew go home early on Thursday? Because, it was bad.
Jacob, it was one of these. It was just, let's just take a moment. Just face palm. That was a face palm moment.
I know what it was, Cisco, and y'all are going to have to I'm about to burn half this segment, so just bear with me.
Well, we might give you a quarter of it. Go ahead.
All right. Dear Las Vegas Motor Speedway, if you're not going to spend the money on the proper amount of water to prep the track correctly, and then prep the track correctly, you don't deserve a NASCAR K&N Pro Series race at your dirt track. Period. End of discussion. This was an abomination. Sorry, Chris Powell. I'm calling it like I see it. This was awful. They had to throw a red flag on lap 8 after they wadded up about 6 cars in turn 1 on the initial start and couldn't even see for a lap and a half that they wadded up 6 cars on the start. That should never happen ever. Period.
It definitely was. This was amateur track prep. I mean, it's not.
That wasn't even amateur. That was we don't care track prep.
Yes, it was exactly that. It was we don't care. Matt Weaver of Auto Week did an interview with Chris Powell back in March when they announced that this was happening. And Powell's the track president at Las Vegas Motor Speedway and the dirt track and all that. Powell said at that point, it's very expensive to get water in the desert, end quote. Therefore, his answer was, we're going to get a spurt, his exact words, a spurt of water to do our track prep with, and after that, It is what it is, basically, I'm paraphrasing.
So in other words, if we can translate that to sort of 5th grade English and in short, we don't care. We're not spending the money to get the water that we need. So if you want to have it, have it. If you don't. We don't really care. Okay.
Yeah.
Your show sucked, sir. It was awful.
Bad.
So
bad.
I really hope this is the last time that we see a dirt show at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the K&M Pro Series because it was awful.
You want to know what my answer to this is? And I hope everybody out there is listening when I say this. Dear Eldora Speedway.
Yes, please.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Now.
Actually, here's what I think would be cool. Let's just have an East versus West show.
At Eldora.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go. If Las Vegas...
Hey, you want to use that as the undercard to the truck race? Yes, please.
Sure, why not? If Las Vegas doesn't want to do what's necessary to make the show a good show, then don't give it back to them. It's not that the drivers were poor. It's not that... there was nothing wrong with this except that the track sucked. And I'm sorry, but I'm calling it the way it is. That was a terrible show.
Well, no, you're not wrong.
With that being said, congratulations to Sheldon Creed.
Who won the abomination?
Yes. To no one's surprise.
Hang on. Let's be clear here.
Because, well, he's a dirt guy.
Well, no, let's be clear. He's not the dirt guy that dominated the race, though.
Well, no.
He stole it.
He is a dirt guy.
He stole it. Why, you ask? Because, hang on a minute. Breaking news. Christopher Bell actually messed up. Christopher Bell flat jumped the restart. He went 3 car lengths before the cone. Chris, what you doing, man?
He looked like
rookie.
He looked like Christian Eckes in the K&N race at South Boston last year. That's what he reminded me of.
Not Eckes.
No, wasn't Eckes. You're right. It was Chase Purdy. Yeah, sorry about that. Driving for
Christian.
Gilliland. Yeah, my bad, Christian. Yeah, it was Chase Purdy.
That was Jimmy Johnson 2 years ago. Bad.
Yeah,
at Dover. Bad.
Yes. The Purdy one was funny though because Purdy jumped so early that they actually had time to get his number on the little electronic board, black flag board that was on the starter stand before he got past the start-finish line.
Yes.
That's how early Chase jumped last year at Sobo. And it was about the same for Bell. But, I mean, not a surprise, obviously, that Bell was going to win. Again, sort of like a dirt ringer coming in. And Creed really not much different.
Well, no, but you know what was cool about this for me? Christopher Bell, I have a bit of a problem with because he basically comes in with Toyota equipment and the best stuff in the series in, Bill McAnally Racing, all that stuff. Sheldon Creed, as far as I'm concerned, did it the right way. Sheldon Creed, he was going to come in with MDM Motorsports. He ended up not doing that. He came in with a very low-budget team that I'm not 100% sure if they had ever won a K&N Pro Series race or even really been close. I believe it was Levin Motorsports, if I remember correctly, that he came in with. And to see him give a shot in the arm to that little team and give them a moment that they'll never forget. If you're going to be a ringer in one of these series, that is how you do it. And that's why I have absolutely no problem with Sheldon Creed winning this race because he came in, he did it with a West team, and not only that, he did it with a West team that God knows this could be the only time they ever see victory lane in their entire career. So hats off to Sheldon. Hats off to the 40 team. Good grief. Celebrate this one for a long time.
I agree.
Because I was watching the Home Tracks video for post-race. That team was losing their minds in victory lane. They couldn't believe what they just pulled off. And that makes me smile.
And there's your positive part of that awful night was that Sheldon Creed ended up winning with a little
I'd
team.
say there was another. I'd say there was one more, Tom.
Okay, quickly.
Haley Deegan.
Oh, yeah.
Won the pole, First female
right.
racer in either K&M Pro
Yep.
Series division to sit on the pole, ran second, and had she had 2 or 3 more laps, probably wins the thing. But you know what?
Who knows?
She had to do it with what sounded to me was a stripped gear and problems with the shifter that they had to rally from the entire second half of that race. She had to work for that runner-up.
Yeah,
Good
she
for
did.
her.
She earned it. That's right. And I'm glad you brought that up, Cisco, because she deserves some props for that run that she had. And oh, by the way, Creed, the best of, well, no, actually second best of the MDM crew at the ARCA race at Salem, finishing in the top 5. But Purdy actually was the strongest finisher. I think he had a third.
Yes, good
and
for
then,
Chase. He needed that.
Yep, and then Harrison Burton, I think, was 6th, and Zane Smith crashed himself out. So with that, we step aside. When we come back, the lightning round ensues. This ought to be fun.
Oh, boy.
We'll be back with more of the Stock Car Show, presented by HMS Motorsport, right after this.
When do you think of a plumber? Like most people, even if it's an emergency, you can be confident about who will arrive to help you. For quality and reliability, count on someone you can trust. Call on the plumbing services of Hague Quality Water of Maryland. Plumbing doesn't have to be an emergency. We handle all kinds of preventative maintenance too. Hague Quality Water of Maryland is family owned here in Annapolis since 1993. For a refreshing choice, call us at 888-84-WATER or visit us online.
Here at Lewis Meineke, we're more than just your average car care center. Hey, it's Dave, your neighbor from Lewis Meineke. Whether you need an oil change, brakes, tires, or anything under the hood, we've got you covered. Take advantage of our free check engine light service as well. Yes, free. And don't forget about our free shuttle service. Never stress, we'll take care of the rest. On with life. Give us a call at Lewis Meineke, 302-827-2054.
Every 30 minutes, another innocent person is killed due to a drunk driver.
My best friend. My brother. My poor grandchild.
My sister. My father.
My husband.
My mom. My mommy. Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
Stop these tragedies before they happen. Don't drink and drive.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always, lock it up. For more information on firearms storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
I'm Kaz Gralla, and you're listening to Race Talk on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Show, and just on the note of Kaz bringing us back, the other day,
yes.
in the midst of all of the hurricane stuff that was going on here, I saw a tweet from Kaz who had just landed or just arrived back in his home area up in New England to find out that they had evacuated almost 200 people because houses were having gas explosions and burning to the ground just randomly, and nobody knew why. It ended up being about 39 houses that happened to. So again, because we do have a huge following up in the Massachusetts, New Hampshire, general New England area, prayers and thoughts to everybody in that situation. I just can't even imagine that. Good grief. So, and is Kaz, is he racing this weekend or not?
No, he's not been racing in a bit.
That's just sad. Somebody please get that boy a sponsor. Okay, lightning round underway here on the Stock Car Show.
I think he's running the Roval, by the way.
Good. Love to see him. I wish he could finish the season. Okay, lightning round, and I'm going to let Cisco start this off because he has a topic that we hope he's going to turn into a question here so we all can join in.
Okay, so this doesn't necessarily apply because Brad K's been tearing it up lately, but it's something I saw once again come across my social media desk, and it's something that I haven't made a thing of yet on this show.
Okay.
It's the people who are in the comments section and everything who say, oh, Toyota shouldn't be in NASCAR because they aren't an American company. Now, there's many places I can go to this. First off, I would like to point out the fact that TRD USA assembles and builds the cars in California. Correct. Also, I would like to point out the fact that the Ford Fusion is assembled in Germany and Mexico.
Also correct.
So, yeah. And, oh, by the way, where are Camrys built? In Kentucky. So, gentlemen, I ask you, why is this still a thing?
Well,
because people are dumb. That's why.
Because look, you've got a portion of the NASCAR fan base that just will never accept a Japanese brand. They don't care where the cars are actually manufactured. It's a Japanese brand. So they will just never accept a Japanese brand in NASCAR, and it just chaffs them to no end whenever Toyota does anything good. So, I mean, it is what it is. There are some folks out there whose minds you're just simply never going to change. They're the same people that when Takuma Sato won the Indy 500 and dared actually have the Japanese flag in victory lane, found that offensive too. It's like
it's
whatever.
no different. Yeah, it's no different than Scott Dixon winning the championship and having the New Zealand flag as he's climbing out of the
exactly.
car.
Well, except that Pearl Harbor and whatever.
Oh,
whatever. Some people are just not capable of moving forward, and whatever. It's like, so yeah, I agree with you, but again, it is what it is. Okay, speaking of. We really haven't talked about the Sonoma IndyCar race, and I was going to go there real quick as part of this lightning round just to go around the table. Scott Dixon wins his fifth IndyCar title. Do you know how many drivers, this is a rhetorical question, do you know how many drivers have won 5 IndyCar titles? Yeah, Jacob is correct. Dos, that would be 2 for those of you who were born here. Okay, A.J. Foyt, the other driver. Now, here's my question, because this was circulating around social media. Scott Dixon, A.J. Foyt. Is there a comparison? Should we be comparing? What do you make of this? Again, quickly, Jacob.
All right, so I actually sparked this question in an IndyCar group that we're both in.
I saw
Tom,
that, but it was
week,
all over social yesterday.
Yeah, it was. And my response to that is exactly what a few people told me. I just wanted to see if I'd get the same response that I would think of by actually asking the question. It's very difficult to compare eras when A.J. Foyt raced 50 years before Scott Dixon.
Yes.
But what we can determine is, number one, Scott Dixon is unequivocally the best IndyCar driver of the modern era, period, bar none. Number two, in going back and watching some old tape when A.J. was driving back in the USAC sanctioned days when they called them big cars, for lack of a better term. That's literally what they called them.
I know.
I've seen in that old tape a lot of driving similarities between AJ and Dixie. Both of them are so smooth. Both of them take care of their equipment. And here's the kicker. Both of them have this uncanny knack of knowing exactly to like the thousandth of where the line is and exactly how hard they can push their car without stepping over that line. And I feel like that's what made each of them in their own time so good. I don't think it's fair to compare a 50-year difference, and I don't think Scott will have a chance to catch AJ's number of wins.
Of course not.
23 wins is a lot, and he's 38. But I do think he can catch Mario in second, Cisco.
Yeah, and I think that comparison goes into the same sort of territory that we have when we have is Jimmy Johnson on equal terms with Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt conversation. And I see the same problems in that I think it's a little too hard for us to be able to make those judgments while they're still active in the sports. Once some time has passed, I think, yes, it'll be a little bit easier for people to swallow that comparison. But I think right now, while they're currently active, I think it's really hard. And especially we've seen with Jimmy just what a horrendous season he has. I do point out, Richard Petty's last season wasn't great either.
No.
So, I mean, you know, while these drivers are still active, it's hard to make these comparisons while they're still on track.
I see where you went with that, Cisco, but I think that's an apple and an orange. The NASCAR situation, the IndyCar situation. Back in AJ Foyt's heyday, he was racing on the dirt. He was racing on the pavement. He was racing sprint cars. He was racing Silver Crown or whatever they call it. He was racing Indy cars. I mean, AJ was racing stock cars. I can only compare their career in the Indianapolis type cars. And I think that, again, in their era, they were unquestionably the best drivers. And I say were as if Dixon's not coming back, which he is, of course. But here's what I will say. Scott Dixon's not done yet, and I don't think Dixon's career I don't think he's starting down the hill.
Heck no.
I think he's probably got 2 to 3 at least more good years.
Honestly, I would, somebody like Elio Castroneves, Tony Kanaan, the guys that are in their early 40s already, and Elio who's gone to sports cars, I would argue that Dixon's in better physical fitness than either of those guys, and I feel like Dixon could probably push it as much as another 5 years if he wanted to.
I would think that's probably true.
Hey, can I make the voice,
go
please?
Ahead.
Because I'm watching Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Breaking news. So, about the road course girl, as I've heard her called in
the road course girl?
Yes, Catherine Legg.
Oh, okay.
Is not going to be just the road course girl anymore.
Oh,
Catherine Legg is going to get to run her first oval track race in the NASCAR Xfinity Series this weekend. She's driving the 15 car for JD Motorsports at Richmond on Friday night.
Good for
her.
I
love it. They heard us. Yes, they did.
That's awesome. I think Catherine's a good racer. She's a very tough competitor. I would argue, honestly, that I think she's about the best female racer going right now in something other than a straight line. Mm-hmm. So we clarified that piece. I think she'll be okay. I mean,
absolutely.
Again, the car is what the car is. If she finishes, 20th to 25th in that car, she's had a fantastic run.
Absolutely.
And, she's just trying to get some experience. So hopefully she runs clean and completes all the laps and keeps the fenders and tires on, and she'll be fine.
I see a lot of parallels in this, Tom and Jacob, to when Adrian Fernandez hopped behind the car for a couple races in the Busch Series after, he ran Mexico City, and they're like, all right, go run Charlotte. Why not? So I see a little bit of a parallel in that based on their backgrounds and everything. I'd say, Catherine, just make sure you bring the car home. That's the biggest thing. Like, you can be running up front and everything like that, but your number one priority, bring the car home. Because that's what impresses the
Adrian was part of the 2006 Hendrick rotation of drivers, the Busch Series. How many cars did they crash? Let me answer that for you. 57 cars in 2006 between the group, because they never gave any of them enough time to get really good at it.
Hey, so I have a lightning round question.
Yes.
How big is 500 wins by Team Penske across all forms of motorsports? Brad Keselowski got number 500 on Sunday at Vegas. How big is that?
Well, it's huge, and again, the fact that Brad would get that 500th win.
And oh, by the way, he tied Mark Donohue to be the winningest driver as a member of Team Penske in the process.
Well, with all due respect to Mark, who is a true legend in more ways than one, Thank you, Brett Guzik, for loaning me the Mark Donahue book, which I've been enjoying reading a little of lately. With all due respect to Mark, that isn't going to last long. Brad's going to pass him before the season is out, maybe as early as this week at Richmond. That team is the hottest thing in motorsports right now.
Absolutely.
And we're going into, again, the Roval, who the heck knows. But if you set that one aside, we're going into a series of tracks that could be very favorable for Brad Keselowski to keep this momentum going. But I'll tell you what, I don't think we're done yet with the Toyotas. We go to Richmond. I see the Toyotas being very strong. But let me tell you who I think we all better be paying attention to on Saturday. Clint Boyer.
Yes.
One,
absolutely.
He loves Richmond. Two, he's had success there. And three, he's coming out of the Vegas weekend not very happy with the results. So, Clint's going to be loaded for bear this weekend, and I think Clint gives that 14 a run for its money and potentially puts it in victory lane.
Yes.
Just Clint, if you're going to win the race, don't have Martin Truex spin out at the end of it. Just be on the safe side.
Exactly.
Hey, to go back for 2 seconds, can I add what the most amazing stat of Penske's 500 wins is? The fact that by decade, since the calendar turned at 2010, they have scored 186 of their 500 victories. That, to me, in the last 9 years, 186 of 500 in the last 9 years. That, to me, is just stunning.
Well, it really is. I mean, that's, an average of 20 a year plus if you averaged it out. I mean, and, of course, that crosses all of the different divisions, but that's pretty spectacular.
Because, Jacob, that includes all three, right? Between NASCAR, IndyCar, and IMSA, right?
And the supercars, too.
And the supercars.
DGR. Yes, everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, 500 wins as an organization. That's pretty amazing. So congratulations to Brad and the two team because, again, this is no fluke. You win at Darlington, okay, you won a race. It's a huge race, but it's one race. You go win in Indianapolis. Now we got a pattern. Then you go win at Vegas. And granted, some other people's misfortune, but it doesn't matter. He was the one standing at the end of the race.
Yes, he was.
You got to be lucky and good to win in the Cup Series anymore.
He's been both.
He could be both again at Richmond.
Yes. And with that, I think it's time to get out of here,
I
isn't
do
it?
too.
All right. Thanks to Bob Steele, Sue Mason, all the folks at the Performance Motorsports Network, as well as the fine folks for HMS at HMS Motorsport for everything that they do to make this show possible. Yes, I know it's grammar. I'm grammatically challenged. You can visit them on the web at hmsmotorsport.com.
He's a writer and he's grammatically challenged.
I know. Anyway, so I can get out of here and Randy doesn't throw something at me. For Tom Baker, Cisco Scaramuza, and of course, Randy Miller behind the glass making all of this possible, I'm Jacob Seelman reminding you to keep it off the wall. And if you're headed to a racetrack, we might just see you there. Have a safe racing weekend. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned to Performance Motorsports Network for more race talk. For the latest motorsports news, visit RaceChaserOnline.com. The Stock Car Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week when the Stock Car Show returns on Thursday night at 7 Eastern. Until then, stay tuned for more great motorsports programming on the Performance Motorsports Network.